matter how well you improve a system, you get the same pay. No reward, no recognition. So Islam actually recognizes that people have different strengths and weaknesses. And I'm going to go into these. Islam has 5 objectives. The preservation of religion, or deen, or way of life, which means essentially that the preservation of these metaphysical values and the practicing and manifestation of these in human beings and to inculcate them. 2, of human life, and the corollary that's also human dignity. 3, the intellect, preservation of the intellect. Very important, it's what separates us from lower order creatures, animals, and so on and so forth. 4, sexual hygiene, or lineage, as called the classical scholars, as in the protection of family units and the protection of people's dignity in terms of forming these reproductive units known as families. And 5, property and wealth, which most law systems do protect. Although how they protect is a different discussion. Now, what is the form that the Sharia take? Well, the form that the Sharia take involves 3 relationships, just 3. The relationship between you and the transcendent, the divine, as in for us it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. 2, the relationship between you and yourself, so hygiene, health, diet. And 3, you and other people, which is in Islam is called the mu'amalat, the transactions, how you deal with other people. And Islam, unlike liberalism, doesn't focus on the individual first, and unlike communism, doesn't focus on society first. Islam focuses on the individual and society simultaneously. And this is very important because I'm going to tell you how this difference is manifested. So, in terms of the individual, how Islam deals with the individual, Islam tries to manifest a number of things. 1, virtue and self-worth. So the Prophet Muhammad said, I came to perfect good manners, he said. I've come to perfect good manners. The Quran says, all you who believe, stand up for justice and fair dealing, even against yourselves. One verse of the Quran says that let not hatred for others make you depart from justice. So whether you hate someone or not, you should always deal in justice. And you should stand for justice even if it's against yourself, your family, your kids, your kin, your friends. Justice is your first prerogative, your first objective. 2, it inculcates in the individual metaphysical values, as I call spiritual values, and tries and maintains them. So unlike the youth today, unfortunately, and not the youth today, not yourselves, but the youth today who lack this integrity and moral grounding because of the vacuous nature of kind of the neutral society of modern liberalism, unfortunately. That no one is teaching them about respect for elders, no one is teaching them. In fact, it's opposite. Don't respect your elders, do what you want. Free will, do what you want, they say. Is free will so important? Yeah, free will is important to Islam too, but also there is duty. I'll get to that in a second. Prayer, fasting, charity. Prayer helps you with steadfastness. 2, it helps the regular remembrance of God, which is our purpose in life for a Muslim. And every day we're reminded 5 times a day of our purpose in life. And it's the symbolic humbling of ourselves, 5 by bowing and prostrating. And we bow and prostrate to God because we realize that we are not gods. And we shouldn't act arrogant. And we don't know it all. And we can't control people without the leave of justice, without the license to buy justice. But according to our own will, we have to submit to that which is greater than us. And we all have to. Whether you're an atheist or Jew or Christian, everyone believes this, because even an atheist believes that you have to submit to the laws of physics. You can't break it. You can try to manipulate to use it, but you have to submit to that law of physics. In a way, the universe is a way is kind of the god of the atheist, so to speak. And everyone in a way has a god. They just give different names and different attributes and so on. Secondly, fasting teaches you patience, teaches you to discipline yourself so that you're not just, quick satisfaction of my instinct. I feel hungry, I'm going to satisfy it instantly. I'm going to lacking patience, cutting queues, and being and all this road rage. All these issues are because people become impatient, much more impatient these days. And fasting teaches us to hold back and wait to satisfy one of our impulses, and not just act on impulse immediately. 3, charity, helping others, and developing altruism for our fellow mankind. Now, anyone can be altruistic, atheist, Jew, Christian, anyone can be altruistic. But the thing with the Sharia is, when it mandates that you give charity, it inculcates in you, your heart the love and desire for the charity. A person needs sometimes to be given a push, and the thing about Sharia is that it makes sure that everyone partakes in the altruism of giving charity. And so this is why it's part of that value of Islam that is mandated. It's called the zakat. Now, the second aspect that it manifests itself in individual Sharia is modesty and dignity. So the Prophet Muhammad said that if Allah has given you property, He likes to see the signs of His bounty on the person. So if you're given some wealth, some property, you should dress nice. You should be clean. You should look nice, because Allah likes to see this. You shouldn't have to be some penniless beggar, and this is the path of piety. No, you can have some dignity in yourself, as long as it's not arrogance, as long as it's not selfishness. You can have dignity for yourself, and you should judge yourself by this dignity, this innate dignity, which, according to Islam, is how a person is judged. When you don't judge, the Sharia does not judge you based on how you look, in terms of how pretty you are, or how tall, strong, intelligent you are. The Sharia judges you based on how virtuous you are. And the great thing about virtue is anyone can do it to any degree. It's like open to anyone. It's the truly equal access, accessible way to gain status, so to speak. True status and inside your innate status is being virtuous. So you don't have to be an accident of inheritance. You've got lots of money, or you've got good business acumen. No, truly anyone can attain true status and true worth in society without relying on nature to give them the right genetics, or on accident and fortune to give them the physical conditions. Fourth, the preservation of intellect. Very important. It's why we don't drink alcohol. The Sharia does not allow Muslims to take any drugs which will cloud the mind, because when you take drugs which cloud the mind, you can no longer act as a rational, free-willed agent. So when they punish people who were drunk and they hit someone over the head with a bottle, or they raped a woman or whatever, it's very bad what they did, but surely according to liberalism's own basis, if the person did not have the full capacity to make a real reasoned decision, he shouldn't be culpable according to the basis of liberalism. Unfortunately, because so many people drink alcohol, it would be too much crime for them to let go without punishing it. So they have to punish it. Even if you drank alcohol and you've done something in the state of being intoxicated, they will still punish you, even though, according to the philosophic basis of liberalism, which is this ideology currently in this country, you are not actually at fault if your mind wasn't all there. In Islam, we say, look, forget all that, let's nip it in the bud. Let's nip it in the bud and prevent intoxicants so that you can always retain your intellect. And that way you're always accountable and you're always a free-willed, rational agent. And the amount of, this alcohol-related crime and violence and cost the NHS £6 billion, I think 2 years ago, according to one report. So this would, certainly the Sharia would solve such problems such as these. Also, hygiene, basic hygiene in the individual. We must keep ourselves clean as Muslims. And in terms of health, sleep, exercise, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ recommended sleeping at a little bit different parts of the day, not one big goal. And as the scientists have shown, it's actually more healthier for human beings. We could take naps. Naps are actually good, instead of just one big 8-hour or 6-hour or 7-hour stint. And also diet is well the same thing. Eating a little bit of food throughout the day is better for your digestive system and metabolism than having 3 big meals throughout the day. And this is what's recommendable in Sharia. And also the great thing about the Sharia is there are parts which you must follow, and other parts which are recommendable to follow. You don't have to follow it, but it is better if you do, and so on. And this has been shown. So this would help the individuals. That's individuals. What about society? How do people relate to society? Islam doesn't believe that society is based on giving everyone rights first. No. It's based on giving on everyone fulfilling their duties first. If you have the right, you have the right to life, the right to protection. But if I don't believe in protecting you, and no one believes in protecting you, and if someone tries to harm you, who's going to recognize your right to life? Who's going to say, why can't? Who's going to do it? Unless someone believes their duty to protection, duty precedes right. And as Muslims who believe in the Sharia, the whole purpose of Sharia is to fulfill our purpose in life. God who created us to worship Him, as we believe it is our purpose. And how do you fulfill this purpose? You fulfill this purpose by acting, making a choice. This is why we operate in this reality, so to speak, this life, this universe, whatever you want to call it. We're here to make a choice, and this choice manifests itself in actions. And how do we know which action to choose? God gives us a variety of actions, and we can choose to fulfill our duties or not. So the Islamic society is based on duty. And this reminds me of a very interesting proverb, actually. It's a Chinese kind of story. It could be a Thai story, sorry. But it is this. There was this individual who was taken to, I think it was Chinese hell and Chinese heaven. And in Chinese hell, he saw a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of evil people, sitting around a table with food and long chopsticks. And they could only eat the food with the chopsticks. And the chopstick was so long, they couldn't take it to their mouth. They couldn't bring it to their mouth. And they were all miserable and unhappy. So then the individual was taken to, Chinese heaven. And he saw that the same. Everyone's sitting around a table with long chopsticks and food, and everyone's happy and content. And he didn't understand. And when he actually looked, he realized that in Chinese heaven, everyone was feeding each other and not themselves. So you'll see that this is essentially how Islam views human beings acting together in society. We help each other. We have a responsibility to help each other. It is mandatory that we help each other. And yes, you might not feel like helping someone else out, but don't you expect to be helped out yourself if you need it, if you fall ill, infirm, sick, penniless, or don't you want to be helped out? Don't you want someone to believe that it's their duty to help you out, as a human being at least? So Islam starts with this because our purpose in life is about duty. And God in His mercy has commanded us to fulfill the rights and human nature of our fellow human being. So I should care about whether you're frustrated or not, whether you're having problems. I should care about this. This is my concern. It's not that, well, I only look after my own life, you look after your own life, that's it, liberalism, whatever. No, I should be concerned with you. The Prophet Muhammad said that someone who goes to sleep and full while his neighbor is hungry has no faith. Imagine the kind of activism, they call it, the sociologists use this word activism, the separation into little units in society. Nobody interacts anymore, neighbors could be side by side with each other, don't talk much anymore. Or if they do talk, it's just pleasantries. And even if they tell each other problems, they don't expect each other to help each other out. This used to be the values of many decades ago, and 100 years ago, and so it used to be the old kind of Christian-based values back in the day. But unfortunately, it's disappearing as liberalism makes everyone more individualistic, as the primacy of the individual is focused on more and more with every generation. Now, as you know, Islam is not, the Sharia is not about legal systems for countries or by people who are in certain parts of the world wearing turbans, AK-47s and running around on camels. Sharia is about a way that you can live as an individual and also as a society. It's holistic and it's integrated. Every aspect of it is integrated, and I'm going to demonstrate this. Any society that exists has to solve six fundamental problems. Six fundamental problems. The distribution of resources and organizational services, otherwise called an economic system. It requires an economic system. 2, the communication, duties to others, reproduction and nurturing of people. This is called the social system. 3, the preservation of its knowledge, education system. 4, legislation and management of the society, which is called a ruling system. And 5, the protecting of society's values, and it is called a judicial and penal system. And of course, maintaining the values that underpin society's values intellectually, which is the metaphysical or spiritual system, depending on whatever word you want to use, depending on which sociology textbook you read. And these systems can be formal or informal. So when people say, oh, there's Sharia established in Britain, look, there's these arbitration courts, watch out, it's coming to get you. Right? I was like, look, Sharia, if the UK had only one Muslim, there would be Sharia. Why? Because if that one Muslim was practicing, he'd be having Sharia himself. He follows his own creed. A Jew follows a practicing Jew follows their own creed. A Christian follows